Well, thank you everybody for joining us for our continuing conversations on tribal partnerships for success. As a PFS grantee, we know you have an important role serving your tribal communities and helping us understand what your successes are, what works really well, and where you might need some extra support. So we're thankful that you've been able to join us for today. Please let me know if you can't hear me or if the visual's not working out, if there's something amiss. But we have a brief couple of slides to share with you, and then we'd like to just involve everybody in the conversation today for, again, what is working, what your successes are, and where you might need some extra support with your programming. Normally, I'd ask everybody to put something in the chat about who you are, where you're coming from, but instead of putting in the chat, we're going to invite everybody to share that loud in a few minutes. But it's a good opportunity for you to meet some new folks who've been a part of our team in some form or fashion, but are taking on some new responsibilities with our center. And I'm hopeful that you might be able to see the slideshow. Please let me know if you can't. Maureen, a thumbs up if you can see the slide. Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and be mindful of admitting folks if they join us a little bit later than anticipated. I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Allison Bays, and I serve as a program coordinator for the Prevention Center. And we have a few of our other staff members, people who've been serving in our center for a long time. I'd like to just briefly introduce them right now, and then they'll share more about themselves when we get to those slides. But we have our director online with us, Dr. Anna Helena Skinstad, our co-director, Dr. Jackie Gray, and one of our longtime consultants, Dr. Maureen Lilliskog. So today it's another opportunity for us to come together, continue to share, discuss, be a part of the journey in serving in the prevention field with one another, and learn how we can continue to support you in the roles that you serve in. Our office is supported by a grant from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and the content of this event is a creation of all of us. And the opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of SAMSHA, HHS, or the American Indian Alaska Native PTTC. But we thank you for being here and sharing from your point of view. Although we are gathered virtually today, it is really important to our team, to one another, that we'd like to take this time to acknowledge the land and pay respect to the Indigenous nations whose homelands were forcibly taken over and inhabited, past and present. We want to honor the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This calls for all of us to commit to forever learn how to be better stewards of these lands through action, advocacy, support, and education. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced occupation of Native American territories, and we respect the many diverse Indigenous people connected to this land on which we gather from time immemorial. While injustices are still being committed against Indigenous people on Turtle Island, today we say thank you to those that stand with Indigenous peoples and acknowledge that land reparations must be made to allow healing for our Indigenous peoples to Mother Earth herself. And this document was created by three of my former colleagues, Ella and Keely Driscoll and Mr. Sean Bear, all from the Meskwaki settlement. So before we go too much further, I'd like to invite each of us to give a brief introduction of who we are, where we're coming from. We just stepped on. We're going to ask everybody to share a few, answer a few questions that we'll put on the slide deck in a few minutes. But before we get into that, I'd like to invite our director to share, and then we'll toss it to another staff member, and then everybody else will have an opportunity to share who they are and where they serve.
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Helena Skinstad. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm a Norwegian psychologist and have worked in the mental health and addiction field for, I don't want to tell you how long. It's a very long time, but I have worked with Native communities for close to 26 years. And I very much look forward to meeting all of you and to hear your success stories and to offer any suggestion in collaboration with my colleague if you have any questions. So very nice to meet you all.
Dr. Gray?
Hello, everyone, and it's great to be with you. I'm Jackie Gray. I am a professor emerita from the University of North Dakota, and just recently signed on at the University of Iowa, although I've been a consultant for the programs for a number of years. I've lost track of how many years. And I have worked in behavioral health in Indian country for over 40 years. So I apologize for the mouthpiece I have in, but it interferes with my speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Well,
Gray. Dr. Lilliskov?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maureen Leleskog, and I've also been with this program for many, many years, first as a student and now as a consultant. And I've worked in Native communities for pretty much all my life in the US. I was born and raised in Kenya and moved out here in '99. So I was mentored by Anne Helena, Dr. Shinstad, and Dr. Dwayne Mackey at SAMSHA. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Well, some of you are familiar faces and have been with us in different sessions and even helped us with some things. So I'd like to invite each of you to share a little bit about who you are and where you come from, who you serve. I see first on my screen, Julia Russ.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julia Russ, and I am from a tribe in Northern California, Round Valley Indian tribes. We're actually a confederation of 7 tribes. I'm Wailaki, and I work here for our youth prevention program, and it's called Path to Wellness. We are currently planning a youth GONA. We've had some youth suicide attempts recently, suicide ideation, just a lot of things going on in our community around grief, loss in families. So we're focusing on youth resilience. We want to build hope for our youth. And so we're shooting for the middle of April to have our GONA. And so I'm just looking forward to getting some inspiration and ideas maybe from other communities today. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Next to Julie on my screen, I see Andrea Ellis Harrison.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm in Oklahoma. I work for the Kickapoo Behavioral Health as project director for a SAPS grant through SAMSHA. I also have our prevention specialist joining us in her office, although she's running a little behind, but her name is Lisa Gifford. So whenever she gets on, that'll be who she's with. So we work with specifically 9 to 20-year-old youth for alcohol prevention, substance abuse prevention, and some suicide prevention.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. Jamasina Webster.
My name's Jamasina Webster. I am the director of suicide prevention society
It's a little challenging to hear. I think it's a little breaking up some. Maybe we can come back to you.
Sioux Nation of Nebraska.
We heard that you're over in Nebraska working in that community with Sioux Nation, perhaps. So I want to say thank you for joining us. If there's anything further you'd like to put into the chat, you're welcome to do so. We just caught the tail end of what you were sharing, but thank you so much for being with us. Abraham?
Hello, my name is Abraham Brancho. I'm the director for the Nez Perce Tribe Students for Success program. What was the question? Were we just introducing?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
What tribal community again?
Nez Perce Tribe in Idaho.
Okay, thank you. And Greg, I see you here on the screen with us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Greg Donovan. I'm Jamie Webster's colleague, so hopefully I can fill in a little bit of what she directs our suicide prevention efforts and is the lead person on the SPF PFS grant, which we view as separate things, that our suicide prevention efforts are larger than a single grant. I direct the Society of Care, which is part of the Santee Sioux Nation. Through the grace of that tribal leadership under our suicide prevention efforts and most of our other work, we work statewide in Nebraska with self-identified Native young people, their families and communities, coming from an orientation of behavioral health, but recognizing that everything and everyone in a young person's life impacts their behavioral health. So I bring kind of a broader look. I'm hoping that Jamie can overcome her audio issues, or at least use her fingers well in the chat, because I think there are some things we can share, and I know there's a lot we can learn. I tend to show up as kind of a blank slate at these gatherings, knowing that the purpose is for you all to gather stuff from us, but also knowing that we can learn a lot from our fellow communities. So thank you. We're also kind of unique in that we work in reservation, urban, and rural/frontier communities. So I'm looking forward to approaches and solutions in any of those.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. And Lisa, we see that you joined us now. We're just asking everybody to introduce themselves, tell us where you're at, even though Andrea did a little intro for you. You can just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you serve. Lisa, I don't know if we're able to hear you. I can't hear anything yet. Are you able to hear me? If you can do a little thumbs up emoji. If not, we'll circle back. I want to say thank you for joining us. I know you just hopped on a few moments ago, but this is an opportunity for us to support each of you in the work that you do, whether you're in Nebraska or Oklahoma or California. We're grateful that you're here, as Greg mentioned, to really have this opportunity, this platform to learn and share with us, but also with one another as a network. So we thank you for being here. And Lisa, if you just want to type something into the chat, that's fine also, if you're having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to go back to the slides. Let's share a different perspective. I think this is where I was. Can y'all see this slide? I can only see Greg right now on my screen. Okay, thank you, Maury. One of the things that's really important to mention, you shared, and then I reiterated the 3 states I think that are represented with our participants today, is that we have the opportunity to serve all states in the lower 48 as well as Alaska. We are situated at the University of Iowa. So we're kind of in the middle of the map in the yellow area because we are the National American Indian and Alaska Native Prevention Center. There is a total of 12 centers across the country, some who may be closer to you in proximity based on where their centers are housed, if you will. But we have a very unique population because we only serve our tribal and native village communities. So it's really important to us to hear from those of you who are serving, whether it's urban or rural, on a res, off the res, because we know the needs are very similar. And we know that the needs are there across the country for all our tribal communities. And we want to be able to share with you what is available through our center, but also support you in the work that you do as a PFS grantee. After today's event, what helps us understand how we help you is that you can get a email follow-up with the slide deck as well as the recording. They are posted on our YouTube channel. We've had a few of these already and they're already uploaded. So if you want to hear from previous sessions, you can look at those. And it's always very important to our team for us to have your input through the GIPRA survey link that we have here on the screen for you, because it's one way that you can share with us what you have learned, what you appreciate, and what you understand that we can help do better. There's also a QR code on your screen. So if you have one of those fancy phones, smartphones that you can just sit there and get the little survey, you're welcome to do that as well. But that's very helpful to us by way of sharing our results in how we talk with you, how we share with you, how we dialogue with you, and learning about the good work that you do and where you need some additional support. So please take the time to take the survey after today's session. Just a quick overview for those of you who haven't been on the sessions with us previously. I think Greg and Julia have been on all of them. The others of you, you may have been there and I cannot remember because there's been a large group before. So my apologies for that. But this is an opportunity for you as Partnerships for Success grantees who specifically serve tribal communities to come together as we host a platform to share your successes and to provide collaboration for each of you with our office and really with one another. This is a great opportunity for you to learn what has been working with your community, whether you're heading up a youth program like Julia or doing suicide prevention like Jamie or any of the other good work that you're doing for healthy communities. It's really important for us to learn to collaborate and support each other in the important work that we do. If we look at the last several months, we actually had our first session back in September. It was an opportunity for us to look at the report that came out of the work that was done in the previous year, which Dr. Lilliskov and Dr. Skinstead were both a part of in the study that was done to get the feedback from those of you in your communities, doing the work, boots on the ground kind of work, being there day in, day out in an urban or rural setting. And so in September, we shared a lot of the information, the data that came out of that study so that everybody could get an understanding of what's going on across the country, what are some of the similarities, what are some of the struggles. And then in November, we decided to take things in a slightly different direction so that we could actually have each of you process and talk together and share with us, similar to today, what you have greater needs for. Because we know that you are grant funded, just like our center. We know there are some very specific needs that we all have and how we can get better acquainted with one another and learn from one another to meet those needs with the limited funding that we all have. That was, I think, one of the biggest discussions we had during that November meeting, was how sometimes we are expected, and I'll speak for our center as well, the prevention center, we are expected to do so many projects, so many sessions, create so many products, and do many things with a limited budget. And it can be a struggle. And we fully understand that on our end. So we want you to know that we're here to support and continue to help you network and collaborate with one another. In January, we took it a little bit different, and we asked for folks to have some one-on-one sharing and be able to speak from their own experience, their own perspective of what is working and sometimes what is not working in their communities. And so that's what we did in January. And we want to continue to move forward with these discussions because they are important. We know the work that you do is very valuable. And so we want to start today's conversation with a few things, but that we would get to share these answers aloud in our group. So when you feel it's a good time for you to share or respond to the question, you can unmute yourself and share. It's a small enough group, so we're not going to do any breakouts or put anybody in groups. But I think it's really important for us to have an open conversation so that we can learn from you and learn how to help where there may be a need. And I like to think that there are a lot of successes in all of our programs. We read about the good work. I know Dr. Skinstead, our director, gets Indian Country Today, and there's always a good story somewhere in there or two. And she shares that newsletter with us, that newspaper that's national that talks about all the successes across Indian Country. And it's really uplifting to hear that and see that on a national level. But not all of our stories make the paper. And so this is an opportunity for you to share about your success, what's happening that you're really proud of, that you can say, we tried it, we've been successful, and we'd like to share this good news with everybody else. So I'd like to invite somebody on our participant group to share with us. Is there anybody who has one or two successes they'd like to share with our group today?
Video.
Abraham?
Yeah, our youth board, it's part of our grant. Is when we first started, it was really a struggle to keep any youth on the board. There was a lot of turnover, inconsistent attendance. But we got through the hard phase, and eventually we had a good consistent amount of kids showing up, and we right now we have anywhere from 12 to 15, sometimes even more than that, kids that are showing up to our meetings, and they've organized their own Gona. They've done a lot of things, worked on PSAs, wrote articles. They've done a lot of things, and they actually ended up winning the 2022 State of Idaho Outstanding Youth Prevention Group. I thought it was a pretty good success for them, especially considering I don't want to sound like I don't want it to come off the wrong way, but for a Native American youth prevention group to win an award like that in the state of Idaho, is a really deep red state. I thought that was pretty awesome. So they received a letter from the governor, and they got a standing ovation they were accepted the award at a prevention conference down in Portsea. I just thought that was a pretty good success for us.
And I want to congratulate you. That is fantastic. Let me ask you, do you have any specific things that you think made them this successful?
Incentives go a long way to start it.
Okay,
But in it, going to a conference, any conference, a lot of kids don't really get to travel. And a lot of what we referred to it when we wrote the when I refer to my committee or my council is they're like a breakfast club. When they all came together, they were all kids from different backgrounds, and some of them were, you know, like a star athlete, and another kid would be in anime, and another kid would be like, they had no clue who each other were, but they all ended up becoming really close. And when we surveyed, one of the parents said that our Jehovah Youth Council actually took the power away from the bullies in high school, because all of the kids' groups ended up intermingling, because now there were friends within those friend groups that were kind of causing this big, instead of having several cliques, they had one big clique, which was another success that we like to, you know, recognize with the kids, is that they're causing positive impact in their school without actually purposely doing it, just by becoming friends. But to answer your question, we take them to the National Unity Conference, and that's been a big driver of kids showing up consistently. We have a strict point system, so it's really based off of their motivation and drive to impact the communities. And
You know, sometimes people don't recognize the value of our youth, unfortunately. And I think this is a perfect example of a great success for not only the youth, but for the representation that they have for their tribal community. And I want to say thank you for encouraging them and sticking with them. Working with youth, as we all know, can be a challenge sometimes. And the fact that you're able to have them have that positive impact that you speak of is important. A few weeks ago, I had an opportunity to be at the CADCA conference in the DC area, and there was a day recognizing our young people, our youth, our adolescents. And even in one of the sessions I went to one evening, the president of CADCA recognized one young lady from Oklahoma, called her out by name, and was just very, very positive about the work that she's done on behalf of her tribal community there, and continues to encourage her to do the work as she's transitioning into college life now as an OU student next year, and wants her to know that she has a future as a leader. She's already been a leader in her own community. So Abraham, thank you for that good work that you share, because it is recognized. It is a good way to let them know their value and their worth, and it's important.
and I want to also in response to Julia's concerns about what's happening in your tribe of suicides and ideation, we have seen, working on a very serious epidemic up in the one of the Sioux tribes, that when the tribal community was able to support the high schools in gathering and supporting each other, they knew more what was going on than anybody else, and were able to really contribute to the reduction in the suicidal behavior that so many experienced at that time. So the power of gathering is very important, and especially when the young people do it themselves, initiate it themselves. So congratulations, this is fantastic.
I can
just wanna-
share success, Allison. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Are you sure, Andrea? Okay. So I can share a success. I think I mentioned this before. We were trying to bring back one of our ancient traditional ceremonies of our coming of age for our young women. And so we've talked about it for a couple of years. And so we finally put together a group, and we're partnering with the neighboring tribe, the Hoopa tribe. and Dr. Riesling Baldy. So she helped revive their flower dance and revitalized it with their communities. So she's helping us. We're putting together our protocols, and we have a group of about 20 moms and grandmas and dads that are starting the effort, and we have new people joining and hearing about it. So it'll take us a year. We're going to start with our monthly sessions, and in between we work with our own girls, in our family. So my granddaughter's 11, so I'm going to take her into ceremony, and one of my nieces. And so we're going to go through the year-long protocols of creating their traditional dress and all of the things that they need to have for the ceremony, and then those conversations about why we're doing it, and just helping them understand like what it means to become a young woman. And so we'll be doing that next spring. So this is our first, we'll be starting this spring and going through all of our protocols, and then we'll have our ceremony next spring out at the river. So I think it's just a blessing that that's going to happen finally after we've been talking about it for a few years.
Let me ask you, Julia, how many times are you going to do that ceremony a year? Are you setting up a sort of like a rhythm of this?
Yeah, so the first group that goes through, of course, we're kind of, finding our way and learning from our mentor. So we're gonna likely, just learn along the way, and then we'll have it each year. So
Yes. Mhm.
the people who go through it the first time, next group, and help support them in their efforts. So and we want the young girls too that go through ceremony to be part of it. So yeah, it'll just grow. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how powerful, because
Yes.
back when I was, the age of my granddaughter, it wasn't even thought of. Like there was, you might hear of people maybe doing baptismals or something like that, but we had no thought about how we transition into being a young woman, and how what a sacred process that is. And so I'm just, yeah, we're definitely it's gonna be something that'll be sustainable and carried on regardless of any grant funding that we.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Julie. I know there was a period in Navajo history where their own puberty ceremonies were at a halt because of the boarding school impact. And so
Yes.
it's been something the last 40-ish, not quite 50 years, that they've been able to revitalize. And they don't happen just once a year. It's like almost every other day you hear about a ceremony going on in your community, depending on what part you live in. They're a really large, obviously really large community, but it's something that is consistently being celebrated for their young women through their Kanalta. So thank you for sharing that. I think you're on the right track, and I really appreciate you sharing that important work. Andrea, you were going to share with us also.
Just a success for the Kickapoo. Much like Abraham, we've been successful with maintaining a youth coalition for prevention. We have about from 15 to 25 youth that attend on a monthly basis. We just recently had our monthly meeting last week, and I think that I don't remember who said it before, but there is I guess a need for community awareness and involvement, because the peers listen to peers, youth listen to youth, and that's where they're getting their information. We have a really high epidemic in Oklahoma of vaping, and then also the high milligram THC, as well as fentanyl, has become a major factor here within our community and with the youth. So it makes our jobs more secure, but in a not a great way, because it's a concern. And we recently learned to try to look out for partnerships among the community in any way that we can. So we partner with the education department, the JOM department, the schools. We're still going into the schools twice a week. And we actually, this is our 3rd year developing the Focus and Flexible initiative, so that we do yoga as a means for prevention for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. But we also are able to deliver those life skills to them as well. And, you know, you think that 4th graders aren't listening, but they are listening and they are paying attention. And you can find out a lot about what's going on in a 4th grader's mind if you just listen and take the time. So just those kind of things. I think that it's a success that we're in our 3rd year of Focus and Flexible, but also that we've maintained our youth coalition and a great parent coalition committee, because they back up their children. So when you get the whole family involved, then they just it's a support system, and you can't ask for better parents or youth, not from our tribal community. And I just give them all the praise all the time, because I said, you know, you guys are going to be, once grant funds run out or we're moving along to the next one or whatever, you all are going to be the ones who's going to have to, you know, mentor those younger kids that are coming up. And we really tried to emphasize to them about being leaders and how to be a leader. And we took them to CADCAL, so last year to Florida. And a lot of them, it was their first time flying, you know, or even being out of Oklahoma, or being even out of this area. And that's a big step for a lot of youth. And so it took us months and months to plan that, and to discuss some different scenarios or different things that they would, you know, possibly be subjected to. But I was real proud of them, because they took a prideful stance in their leadership effort, and they dressed really nice. You know, they represented the Kickapoo tribe, and that's what we told them. You know, that's what you're here for, is to represent. You're coming to represent our community, and they took it wholeheartedly. So you couldn't ask for better youth or parents. So I think that those are all successes, just to name a couple.
I'm glad that you shared about your, was it Focus and Flexible program? It's really important. Our K through 12 center actually started something very similar a few years back in regard to mental health and wellness for our young people. And it was mindfulness movements, and just using yoga, using meditation, using some time just to decompress. Because you're right, you know, how do you know what's going on with a 4th and 5th grader unless you spend the time to listen to them and have them have that time to decompress and just be, not to be so actively engaged all the time. So thank you. Those are some great programs of success. Is there anybody else who has a program or 2 or 3 that they'd like to share about? These are just great examples.
I do. Can you hear
Amy,
me okay?
yes, Jamie, we can hear you fine.
Okay, I'm sorry about earlier. I had unstable internet, but I'm the director of suicide prevention for the Santee Sioux Nation Tribe of Nebraska for the program of Society Care. Successes, we had a youth group started as a talking circle, and that would have been about 3 years now, but it originated from these 2 males that were early in their recovery from substance abuse. They wanted to give back to their community, and that's how that group started, and it still continues today. And it functions as a youth council too. It serves about 15 to 18 youth. It started with the Santee Community School on the reservation, And starting this year, it has expanded to Niobrara Public School, where the rest of more of the Native population are. And I work with the other tribes in Nebraska too, but they have done about 3 service projects total, but this year they have done 2. The first one they raised funds for Christmas presents for the babies at the daycares at the school. And then the second one, we partnered with the nutrition center and offered them some help when it came to the Thanksgiving dinner for the elders. They joined that day of or the day before to help set up, and then the next day they came to serve, and we went over etiquette, simple etiquette when it comes to serving and volunteer work too. And they were talking with the elders, and they even got to call bingo. So they got that kind of experience. And just the next week from reflecting, they absolutely loved it. And absolutely, like, everyone in the community pretty much heard about it, and they got good praise from it. And then for Christmas, they had raised funds to donate to the daycare, the tribal daycare, for Christmas, their Christmas party and Christmas gifts. Now, these are projects that they wanted to do themselves. This is not Jamie telling them, let's go get this done and I'm gonna get you guys working. No, it's just what they wanted to do. It was youth guided. And they look forward to this year and the next one, what's next, and they asked for it. And like Abraham mentioned, these are kids kind of like the Breakfast Club. They're not like kids that they interact with on the daily, but yet it created that relationship that they can remember really well. And they do attend the Unity Conference yearly too. And we keep track of attendance throughout the school year, because I understand that you have jobs during the summer, you have different priorities, you have to help take care of your siblings too. So just the school, we meet during the school day around lunch. And we just, if they aren't able to make group today, it's okay. I understand you gotta catch up on work too. Just prioritize being a student as well. And yet, if they're active students too, or athletes, that makes sense. And right now we're getting ready to get ready for this year's conference, even though it's a couple months from now, but we're getting ready to implement language into this. A majority of the students are Dakota, and then some fraction of them are Lakota. So the language dialect can kind of switch a little bit, but it's not that complicated a bit. So we're working on introductions, and then for the talking circle, check-ins of how are you doing? And then the simple, I'm doing well. Just we introduced that aspect this week, and they like it. It's got to be worked on, but it's just learning language. It takes time. And then another success was last year during the month of October. We had, I guess, the very first Red Ribbon Week in a while. We appointed 3 speakers from the community of Santee, people who have gone through the rut of going through substance abuse issues and have overcome them. And they give a message of hope in their speech. The 3 speakers, they're 3 people in their community that they know, not somebody that you'd bring in that, I don't know who that person is, but you bring somebody in, they're like, wow, I didn't know that they experienced that. It was really powerful, and we got feedback from the school. They said that's the very best it had their attention. They haven't seen their students that captivated and well behaved in a while during that presentation. And with the speakers, we appointed them as judges. While the high school and the middle school were having speakers and all that, we had hosted an art contest for the elementary, and there's 3 places. One third place, I think it was kindergarten. And then second place was 4th grade, I think. And then first place was the 3rd grade. And for the first place prize, the class that won, they got to get their poster. It's gonna go on a billboard. And the kids that this class, their message was, warriors are strong and drugs are wrong. And I'm giving them some time right now because they kind of had a little bit time to throw everything together last minute. And I encouraged them to really work on it because I want them to feel a sense of pride when they look at that. But it's gonna be completed, I'd say, by 2 months from now. But there was that success. And then we do social emotional learning. I work with the licensed clinician on doing those classes in the Santee School for 4th and 5th grade class. And it's just a variety of things like either role play or talk about the risks and stuff, or alcohol and how it affects the brain, and then coping skills, and then just different factors around mental health. This has been going on so far for this year. And for a total, it'd be about 30 to 40 kids that we meet with on the weekly basis for social emotional learning. But there's that. And then I do Motherhood is Sacred classes. We recently finished up. I'd say we had about six parents finish the program. And this was a partnership with the Nebraska Indian Child Welfare Coalition, and just making sure that these classes are offered not once but twice. There's 2 classes. One of them I did was with my coworker from Morningstar, but there's one where we're doing is like offered around lunchtime, and then the other class is offered during the evening time. So that's how that works. And I believe, oh yeah, I do mentoring, kind of family support. It's just one-on-one with kids, helping them talk with their parents and helping bring grades up and improve behavior. Touch over the issues about alcohol and marijuana and giving them education. But that's well, I guess my favorite success would be from the talking circle, sort of youth council, because recently I got invited to join my youth at their induction ceremony for Honor Society. And when they're applying for Honor Society, one shared their speech, and they brought up how the talking circle helped them develop leadership skills, and how the service projects that helped them develop that sense of how they want to serve their community and how they want to just really enhance their leadership skills. That was just my favorite part. But if anybody has questions, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. You have a lot of successes out there in your area. I say thank you to everybody who's shared. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the last few successes that you can think of. Some are consistent programs like Andrea mentioned that you've been doing for years. Some are things that you just initiated recently within this last school year with family support and families and our young people. And I'm really impressed that pretty much everybody who's shared so far has talked about the youth activity, because so many times we hear that they're the future leaders. And I've always thought differently and said, there are leaders now with some guidance. And it looks like all of you are doing some great, providing some great opportunities with guidance, giving them some norms to follow and some regulations of some kind so that they're safe and that they're healthy options for them to select in life. And that's what we want for our communities, to have good health and wellness for what they do. And Greg, you were right. Jamie has a lot going on. So thank you for prepping us. Are there any last comments about other successes before I put the slide deck back on? We only have a few minutes left, but I don't want anybody to be not included.
I have a question that I think's a sort of success, but not a fully realized one. And that is through the NNED process. We went through project venture training and experiential work. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to fully implement it and are looking to do so. I was wondering if others had utilized that curriculum at all or adapted it or anything. And again, I don't want to distort this meeting because again, it's not really a success yet, but I think completing the training and being poised is, but yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, either for today or for future. But I don't want to destroy the agenda for the meeting either. So thank you.
I haven't implemented it myself, but I read about it because I know it focuses on the outdoors and learning to build their skills outdoors. And that's a good opportunity for young people because we know they have a lot of energy. Does anybody else have Abraham looks like he has some experience with it. So please, if you'd like to.
Yeah, we adapted Project Venture. We started out and we were pretty, we helped with Fidelity, but we've adapted it over the years because schools here, they don't have a lot of funding. And so they really got picky about who came into the schools. So we didn't have any after school programming. What we did though is, according to our youth board, we increased our cultural activities in the winter. And then our summer is just full of all the outdoor stuff, backpacking, hiking, the traditional gathering, fishing, mountain biking, rock climbing, paddleboarding, all the stuff that the kids have done. And we survey them, and so we've seen an increase in the resilience. And we surveyed parents, we surveyed the kids before and after, and then we survey ourselves. The staff kind of does their own assessment of what they think, how the kids grew through the summer, and we're seeing a lot of growth in terms of resilience and leadership and just being more outspoken and taking the initiative, stuff like that. So it's been really helpful for us to survey them. And another plus is that when we first started implementing it back, I think in 2016, a lot of those kids actually are on our youth board now.
Thank you, Abraham, for sharing. Julia?
We kind of had something similar. We knew about Project Venture and then we adapted it to our areas. So right now we have a youth mentoring program and we wanted more of our young men to be involved. So we have some men that take them out to, right now it's fishing season here. So they go out gigging, putting in some temporary dams that are allowable for our tribe and catching steelhead right now. And then we couldn't have youth handling firearms. So if there's any men that do kill a deer, then there's a little phone call, like they just send out the word that they're going to show how to skin deer out and and then they'll have a little group come over and, just observe. So we just adapted it to our.
I think that's a great suggestion, Julia, because that's what it is. We know that we're all serving tribal communities or native villages, but we have to make some adaptations along the way. And that's a good thing, depending on what part of the country you're living in, whether you're ice fishing in Alaska or here where I'm at in Minnesota, but you're doing fishing a different way, with the dam building. And so it's really important to be mindful of those things and make it doable for your community. And engaging the community is important to help our young people learn. So for those of you who are able to help answer Greg's important question, hopefully that helps a little bit, Greg. And you have two resources here online with you, Julia Russ and Abraham Broncho. Maybe you can connect with them via email if y'all don't mind putting in your emails, and Greg can continue on the conversation regarding the opportunity for him to utilize Project Venture in his community. Any other last comments as we bring up?
Thank you for that. And thank you both who contributed. I think the curriculum is exciting. It's just a question of getting to it.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you, Greg, for bringing that up. As we look ahead, we want to continue these conversations because right here, Greg found the answer that he's been looking for, it sounds like, for a little bit, with an important program that has validity in it, does work, and can be adapted with your own communities. But we also want to invite any one of you to think about being a partner with us as a co-host for future conversation gatherings. It's an opportunity for us to provide this platform and to be here as a resource for each of you as PFS grantees. We know that you are grant funded and that you have some great success stories that we've heard from today from all of you online, and we thank you for that. But we also know that we want you to continue to network and support each other, and we would be happy to provide that for you as we move ahead. You don't have to answer today, but if you are interested in helping us develop the agendas, looking forward to reaching out to your colleagues in the field, in their own communities, inviting them to be a part of the discussions, the conversations, it would be really helpful to us as we move forward with this, because it's an important part of the work that needs to be done in the field of prevention science.
One thing that I noted right in the beginning, and that was Julia raising the issue of suicide in her tribal community. And it sounded like several of you have been through this. And is that a topic that you want us to think about discussing also? And I am going to reach out to you, Julia, about that sometime this week. But it's an issue that I think we can all learn from each other, because I'm sure Julia's tribe is not the only one that have experienced suicide epidemics.
And that's important. If there's something that you know that is really a concern of your communities and you need some guidance, some support, this is a great opportunity to find it from our center, but also from your peers. And we'd love to work with you to help you in that category of need. Our next conversation is coming up in March, and I'm changing the time just a little bit because I have some other things on the agenda for myself with other meetings, but I want to continue the conversation. I don't want it to be forgotten in the month of March. And I put it towards the end of the month because I think some people go on spring break during this month. So I want to be mindful of your time that you may be taking off during early March. So we moved it to March 28th. The registration link is here on the screen for you, and I will email it to everybody who has been on the line with us today and whoever wasn't able to be with us. But it's a really good opportunity for us to continue conversations that are important, that help you do the work in a good way, helping our communities heal, helping our communities stay on the path of healthy conversations, healthy journeys. Are there any last thoughts from Dr. Liliskov or Dr. Gray?
I just dropped a manuscript that I published on a project that we did with a tribe that had a high suicide rate with their youth on what gives the youth hope. So feel free to open it up and save it and read it.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Well, I know we all have a calendar to fulfill. We have things to do, and I want to be respectful of all of your schedules. But I want to say thank you to our staff members who are able to join, Dr. Liliskov, Dr. Gray, and our director, Dr. Skinstad. It's really important that each of you continue the good work that you are on with your communities. And I'll stay online for a few minutes in case you want to look for email addresses. I see that Dr. Gray put hers. I think Julia put hers as well. Anybody who wants to connect with one another, please put your email addresses in the box as a point of reference, the chat box, so that other people can connect with you. And if you have questions before our next time together in March, please send an email our way and we'll do our very best to address them. And if anybody is interested in helping to co-host our next meeting, we appreciate that partnership. Please send me an email regarding that. And I'll put my email in here as well, even though you might already have it. Oops. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the conversation on tribal partnerships for success. Have a great afternoon.